San Francisco and New York, you stopped off in Kansas, your hometown.
Right. I went, from San Francisco. You know, my hometown, I don't get there very often because my immediate family have all, dispersed. They're living all over the country now, so I don't have any, that excuse to go back to my hometown to visit family. And it's such a difficult place to get to, I had to fly to Denver and then drive 220 miles. So.
What part of Kansas is it?
It's in the northwest corner of the state.
And there's one of these billboards outside that says Home of Sam Ramey, opera star?
Yeah, there is. About 5 years ago, I had gone back to my hometown to also to do a recital. And shortly after that recital, one of my old high school buddies had come to that recital, and for years there had been a sign out on the interstate highway there, welcome to Colby, Kansas, the home of, I don't remember the girl's name, Miss Kansas of 1978 or something. Right. And he wrote this lovely letter to the local newspaper saying, we have this sign for this girl, which is fine, but we've got a person like Samuel Ramey who's from Colby, Kansas. Why isn't he? And shortly thereafter, this sign went up, and I got to see it for the first time.
How did you become? I mean, you did not grow up loving opera. You did not come from a home that there was much playing or much discussion of opera. Neither of your parents were teachers.
Well, no, they weren't teachers.
So how did you? Was it some?
I didn't. Yeah, like you said, when I was growing up, I had absolutely no exposure to opera. I didn't know what opera was. In my senior year in high school, I had decided that I would go to college and I would study music with the idea of becoming a teacher. And I went off to college, and my first voice teacher in college, my first year, put me to work on an aria from the Marriage of Figaro, Non più andrai, and suggested that I find a recording and listen to it. And so I went out into a record shop, and I found an old LP of Ezio Pinza singing various arias, and that was my first exposure. And there was just something about listening to that. I don't know whether it was his voice or what it was, but it just sparked my interest, and I began going to the library and listening to opera more. And eventually, a friend of mine told me about a summer opera company in Central City, Colorado, that hired young singers to sing in the chorus, and there was also a small workshop for them. So I just went out and made a tape and sent it off, and they took me. So I went out to Central City, Colorado. This was summer of 1963. And that was my first-hand exposure. I'd never seen an opera until I was actually taking part in one.
And looking at your success now, and if you could, in a sense, give a rough appraisal, how much of it is the voice, which was the gift that you had, the instrument you had, and how much of it is drive, will, practice, perspiration?
Well, I think it's at least 50-50 of that. I mean, there are a lot of people with wonderful God-given voices that don't end up with having big careers, and so I think it's something you have to really want a lot, and you have to.
Can you
work
spot a
very
great
hard
voice when you were in college? I mean, did somebody come to you and say, "Listen, Sam, count yourself among the lucky"?
Yeah. Well, I've been fortunate in my life ever since high school, having teachers that have given me good advice and always encouraged me throughout my high school, college. Whether they heard something extra special or not, but they always encouraged me, and they told me that if with hard work that they thought I could have a career. But you never know. You never know. A lot of
when did you know?
Well, gosh, I don't know. I don't think I really knew until I got my first contract.
When somebody was willing to pay.
Exactly, right. Yeah, exactly.
And you knew. What's your favorite venue?
Oh, goodness. That also is that's like asking me what my favorite role is. There's so many wonderful places
that you like.
Yeah. I think one of the really special places is the Teatro La Fenice in Venice. It's such a beautiful jewel box of a theater, and there's so much incredible history with the theater. I was lucky I got to perform the title role in Attila there, and that's the opera house it was composed for. I was walking around.
Is this when they asked you to come back, and there was so much applause at the end of the performance?
Yes,
and they were standing.
Three or four of the performances. Yes, the applause went on so long that we
came back and did another.
We did the unmentionable thing. We did a beast. We did a beast. Yes, but it was very exciting. They said, oh, well, it's fantastic. You know, they said it was the first time in 30 years that had happened.
If it's broadcast, do you watch the rebroadcast? If it, in fact, if it's a recorded performance, do you listen to it and do you learn from it?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, I don't spend hours and hours listening to my own tapes and things, but everything that, things that come out, the things that are videoed and recordings that come out, I like to, I listen to them, on occasion just to see what was going on at that particular time.
What are your dreams? What is it you'd like most to happen, to do, to be, to play?
Oh goodness, that's.
But when you've reached the level of being where you are as a base, what are the goals to conquer?
Well, I think probably at this point I just like to maintain what I do. I'd like to continue giving as well as I can.
How many days of a year are you on the road?
Goodness, I've never really counted, but I live here in New York, but I don't. I spend.
But you've got apartments all over the world, don't you?
No, I don't. I don't really
do that
I'm
whole
not
thing
one of
where
those.
Milan
I haven't
here
done
and there.
that. No, I've never done that. Probably should have a long time ago. It would have been a good investment. But no, New York is my home. Or at least that's where my mail is sent. And, but I only spend probably on the average of 3 months a year.
What do you have to do to take care of your voice?
Well, I think not overworking it.
Strain, all the obvious things.
Yeah. We all have a tendency to do. All singers, I think, have a tendency to do too much. You want to do everything that's offered to you, and sometimes your vocal cords just say, "Hey, I need a rest." And, that happens frequently.
Do you get a sense that opera is becoming more popular, that there's more attention paid to it today?
I think so. Yes, because every place I go, I've in the last few years I've been doing quite a lot of concertizing, recital work around the country and in Europe, and I'm seeing many more and more young people attending recitals and concerts and opera performances. So I think I think it's growing very steadily in popularity, and a lot of it has to do with this wonderful venue of television. I think
introducing people and also opera stars have become personalities because of television.
Right.
It's great to have you here. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.